Assalamu alaikum everyone. Here my name is Sarishma Gold and I'm appointed as a Valeem O-level biology facilitator. And today I'm going to give you a short overview of one of the topic of biology of 5090 syllabus. Okay, so let's start with the brief introduction of myself. Here I'm sharing my PPT with you all. Just stay tuned. Okay, so starting from my brief introduction with you all. Okay, I have done Masters in Physiology and with the first division from University of Karachi in the year 2015, including the subjects that is Physiology, Biochemistry, and Microbiology. I have done my intermediate in the year 2011 from St.Joseph's College from Women. Again, I'm a pre-medical biology student, so my main subjects are biology, chemistry, and physics again. I have a total experience of teaching as of 5 years. I have associated with different schools and coaching centers, including Dawood Public School and Nexus School and Meritorious Coaching Centre, and gave private tuitions as well. So here I am appointed as a O-levels biology teacher. So let's start. Okay, so it's a just overview of biology paper, that is O-levels biology paper, but there are 4 parts of O-levels biology. It is associated with the Cambridge International O-level. The code of the paper is 5090. The total papers should be attempted are 3, that is paper 1 and 2 is compulsory, and paper 3 and paper 6 have a choice. So paper 1 is having a 40 compulsory multiple choice question. Each have 4 answers. So one is the correct one out of the 4. So overall the time period for this paper is 1 hour. Whereas paper 2 is a theory paper. The total time period for it is 1 hour 45 minutes. This paper contains 3 sections. That is section A that carries 50 marks. There are small structured questions, basically the reasoning one, and section B is of 20 marks. It's having 2 compulsory questions, each is of worth 10 marks. Whereas section C is carry 10 marks and you need to attempt only 1 question out of 2 questions. So the total paper 2 is of 80 marks. So the next paper, the paper 3, that is a practical paper, that having a time period of 1 hour 15 minutes. Total paper is of a practical question and the total marks for it is 40 marks. Whereas paper 6 is alternative to the practical, that is you guys having a choice between paper 3 and paper 4. This paper is of 1 hour and it's a written paper question, written question paper, and it is descriptive. And again, it's of 40 marks. So there are a few expectations from my students. That is, they need to be work hard for their paper and for their subject that they have chosen. The second one, they need to be a good listener. If they are a good listener, so they are having a good grasp on their subject. They are having a good grasp on their subject. The third one and the most important one, I like to entertain people when they are asking questions with me, so that I can have an idea about my student, that how much content they have grasped in their mind. The next one is the revised lecture. The reinforcement of the lecture is very important in every field. Either you are having that you are having a Cambridge system or any other education system. The next one, obviously, this is an online platform, so you need to be very attentive during the session, either in a question answer session or during a lecture session. And the one and the most important one thing, that please mute your mic, unmute when it's necessary or when you are having any question. Otherwise, just mute your mic during lecture. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. That is the main topic of today's discussion is transportation in cell. Though it's a very you can say that it's a very big one, but I'm just going to cover only one mean of transportation in cell, that is diffusion. Otherwise, transportation of cell consume diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Okay, so we'll start with it. Today's lesson plan will be, we'll start with a summary of the cell wall. We just recall the cell structure, the function of cell membrane. Then we just having an overview of the transportation in cell. That is, there are two methods. That is by passive transport, that is further divided into diffusion and osmosis, and the other one is the active transport. Okay, we start with the cell summary. So I hope everyone knows about the cell. That cell is the basic structure and function unit of life, and we can observe it under the microscope. Without a microscope, we are unable to observe the cell. Cell is of animal cell. Cells are basically plant cells. Cells are of a unicellular organism or a multicellular organisms. It's up to you. Okay, it can be first observed by the scientists and to invent living Hawk. All living cells have their basic structure. That is, that they all are surrounded by a cell membrane, contain cytoplasm, nucleus, and organelles. If you are observing this diagram that I've shown in the PPT, that is, this is the animal cell and this is the plant cell. Both of them is having some mutual structure, and some of them are having a different structure. So. And they are having a different organelles. Having like that is called bridges. That is, if you are seeing the centriole, that is mitochondria, microtubules, lysosomes, and chloroplasts, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, etc. and etc. Organisms are basically divided in on the basis of the number of cells, that is unicellular and multicellular. If we are talking about a single cell organism, they are known as unicellular one. And if we are talking about multicellular organism, that is that they are composed of more than one cell. Various organisms are also divided on the basis of the type of nucleus that their cells have. The first one are the eukaryotic organism, and the other one are the prokaryotic organism. The eukaryotic organisms are those that they are having a membrane-bounded nucleus, whereas the prokaryotic organisms are those that they are having non-membrane-bounded, or you can say that false nucleus. Okay, so the function of a cell membrane is basically the cell membrane is the outer structure of the cell. It protects the cell, control the incoming and outgoing of the cell, maintain the concentration of various substances. It is selectively permeable in nature. What does selectively permeable mean? That they allow few substances to pass through it. And the last one is a maintain homeostasis. What is homeostasis? That is the equilibrium of the molecule in and out of the cell. So if you are observing this structure, this is extracellular fluid, and this is the cytoplasm, that is the intercellular fluid, the jelly-like substance which is present inside the cell. So by means of different mode of transportation, these extracellular fluid molecules move from outside to inside by the passageway of our plasma membrane. The plasma membrane is this. That is a lipid bilayer one. The next one is the method of transportation in cell. Transportation basically is divided into two methods. That is the passive transport, and the another one is the active transport. So passive transport is further divided into diffusion and osmosis, whereas active transport is the active transport. This is not furtherly divided. Okay, so if you're observing this diagram, that is these purple molecule and these triangular molecule and this square molecule, these molecules are highly concentrated. Highly concentrated, that means they are more in number in the extracellular fluid as compared to the cytoplasm. So they are diffused from extracellular fluid into the cytoplasm by lipid bilayer, that is your plasma membrane. Similarly, over here, they use protein. They use some protein to make a transportation from outside to inside. Such type of diffusion is called facilitated diffusion. So both are the types of passive transport. Here, if we're talking about just an overview of an active transport, that is, they are less outside as compared to inside, but still they are trying to move from outside to inside by using ATP. ATP is the energy currency. Okay, energy by using the energy, they move from outside to inside. So this is active transport. Okay, let's move ahead. That is passive transport, movement of molecule from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. Move towards the concentration gradient. The molecule move towards the concentration gradient means that they move from higher towards the lower concentration. It does not require any energy. This process doesn't require any energy. The second one, the concentration gradient, the definition of concentration gradient is basically the unequal distribution of molecule inside and outside. And due to this inequality, the molecule move from higher to lower concentration. So this is known as diffusion, or you can say that a passive transport. There are two types of passive transport, the diffusion, and the next one is the osmosis. Okay, so diffusion again, the movement of solute molecule. I am again emphasizing this thing, that is solute molecule. If we are discussing about solute molecule, it means that we are discussing about diffusion. So the movement of solute molecule from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration towards the concentration, or you can say that towards the concentration gradient. Okay, it is a type of a passive transport that we have discussed early before, and it stops when the concentration gradient is zero. It means that if you have observing this picture, it means that over here there are more orange molecule as compared to red molecule. So the orange molecules start moving from this portion to this portion, and the red molecule that is also maintaining the same number. So what happened after a few minutes, that these orange molecules are equally distributed over here with the red molecule. So this is called diffusion. If we just say that in very simpler form, what is diffusion? What is diffusion? So diffusion is basically the spread out of the solute, spread of the solid molecules, basically solute molecules, from the region of higher concentration towards the region of lower concentration. Okay, so diffusion in different medium. Diffusion take place in different medium. Obviously, the first one is diffusion in liquid. Why diffusion take place in liquid? That all of you know the chemistry of liquid. That liquid molecules of liquid are slightly apart from each other, and they are having free spaces between them. So when we add any dye or any other liquid or any other solute in the liquid, so they start diffusing with it. Okay, I'll just give you a small brief demo of it. So just everyone go over here. I have a glass of water. Here I just add a few particles of this orange color, if it is all visible to you guys. Without moving, the concentration over here of this orange color is more as compared to the bottom of the glass. So if it is more visible to you guys, so these orange molecules start moving from higher concentration towards the lower concentration and start maintaining the entire equilibrium of this liquid of this water. So over here, that is when I just add this yellow color powder. So high concentration of that orange color pigment is more on the surface of the water, and then gradually they start mixing with the water, and then finally after a few minutes, if it is visible to you, the entire water turns orange in color. So the equilibrium of the molecule will be maintained. Okay, diffusion in gas. So molecules are easily diffused in gas as compared to liquid. As we all know the chemistry of gas, that gas molecules are far apart from each other. They are having a large intermolecular spaces between them. So if we just spray any perfume, or if you're just passing the garbage truck, or if we just enter our house and we just feel like a strong aroma of a food. So basically how how the molecule of such things spread out by means of diffusion. If we spray the perfume on our clothes, so it will spread very easily throughout our room, just because of the process called diffusion, that is movement of high molecule, the movement of molecule from high concentration towards the lower concentration. Okay. Diffusion in membrane, basically how the membrane take role in diffusion. Again, I'm explaining you the extracellular fluid, that is the outside, the outside fluid of the cell, and cytoplasm is the intracellular fluid, that is the jelly-like substance present inside the cell. Outside molecule, it's of anything, that is of glucose, that is of any protein or any other your mineral. They need basically a pathway to just pass on from this lipid bilayer, that is the plasma membrane. So as we all know that this lipid bilayer is selectively permeable membrane, so it allows few substance to pass through it. And when molecule move from high concentration to low, it means that the diffusion is take place. Okay, what is the importance of diffusion in living organisms? There are so many importance of this. Okay, the first one is the gaseous exchange during respiration and photosynthesis. We all know that is respiration and photosynthesis is very important. It's basically a very important process that takes place in the living organism. That is respiration in they take place in animals and humans, and photosynthesis take place in the plant. So over here, sorry. Okay, so over here it's basically diffusion of carbon in during photosynthesis. What happened? The carbon dioxide in this from the surrounding gets moved from outside to inside for the process of photosynthesis, and in the presence of sunlight, they turn into glucose and oxygen. So the amount of oxygen that is produced in the process of photosynthesis will be moved from stomata by the process called diffusion. In the same way, when we breathe in and when we breathe out, there is a process called respiration takes place. So when we breathe in, we take in more oxygen that is from the outside. The oxygen move from the nasal cavity to the lungs. In the lungs, there is less oxygen. So in the lungs there are more oxygen. So the oxygen is moved from the alveoli to the blood capillaries, and the blood capillaries that contain more carbon dioxide, that is a wastage of the body, is moving from the blood capillaries to the alveoli, and from the alveoli that we exhale out from our nose. Okay, excretion of waste product. This is also a very important process that taken place inside a living organism. Excretion, either we are talking about excretion in plant or excretion in low organism or in a human or in animals. So basically, all of the living organisms excrete out the waste product by the process called diffusion. If you're just talking about excretion in the lower organism, so they excrete out oxygen during photosynthesis. If you're talking about excretion in plants, so they excrete out of oxygen in the process of called photosynthesis, and they excrete out extra water through the process called transpiration. They remove some certain cellular vacuole that is fall out of the leaf, and certain resins and gums in term of from the xylem by the process of diffusion. In the same way, excretion in the lower organism, if you're talking about amoeba, that amoeba is basically remove the carbon dioxide by a diffusion process. In earthworm, nephridia is present, that is responsible for the removal of the waste product. And if we are just talking about the human excretory system, that is the kidney, the urinary bladder, and urethra. Basically, our kidney plays a very important role in the removal of the waste product. So the kidney maintain the check and balance of the water and certain minerals in this process, during this process. Then all the transported excretory, that is excretory organs by the, and all the main stuff that is required, one product of waste product will remove out of our body by the urethra or anal route. Okay, absorption of digested food is another the important part of diffusion in our human body. There are certain different substances that need to be absorbed in our blood. So digestive system consists of different organs that include that starts from our mouth and ended on our anus. So there are certain carbohydrate, protein, and lipid that get absorbed in different areas of our intestine, that is carbohydrate more absorbed in duodenum, whereas less absorbed in the jejunum and least absorbed in ileum portion. Whereas calcium, iron, and folate, they are highly absorbed in the duodenum, whereas calcium is furtherly absorbed in the other jejunum and ileum part of the small intestine. Whereas if we're talking about bile acids are absorbed mostly in ileum part and less in the jejunum one. There is no absorption of bile in the duodenum of the small intestine. Cobalamin, that is vitamin B12, is mostly absorbed in ileum portion, and all of these substances get absorbed by the process called diffusion from their surrounding into the bloodstream. Okay. The next and the last topic of the diffusion, that is what are the factors that affect the rate of diffusion. So basically, there are the few factors, that is temperature, size of a particle, thickness of a barrier, concentration gradient, and total surface area of the cell membrane. So temperature, if we increase the temperature, the rate of diffusion will get also increase. If we increase the size of the particle, so the rate of diffusion will decrease. The larger the size, it will take more time to diffuse through the cell membrane. The thickness of the barrier, if the cell membrane in plant and animal are about the same. If increase the cell wall, decrease the rate of diffusion. Obviously, in plant, it means that the rate of diffusion is less as compared to the animal, as animal doesn't contain any cell wall. So again, the next point is the concentration gradient. If we increase the concentration gradient, increase the rate of diffusion. If there is more inequality of the molecule in the cell, so it will take less time to get diffused inside and outside. And the last one is the total surface area of the cell membrane. If we increase the surface area, more and more absorption will take place, more and more diffusion will take place into the luteal cell and microvillum of the ileum. So this is it for today. It's we have just talked about diffusion. If you guys have any question regarding anything in this topic, so you can easily contact on Valeem and on their number on their website and join Valeem kindly join me as your facilitator for O-Levels Biology. And thank you for listening me, and Allah Hafiz. Take care.